We've always had a joint business plan, and we want this to be a fully aligned plan with our ISV's CRO. Especially in the coastal piece, we want to be their true extension, right? The CRO of the ISV should tap into the specialist on my team as someone who works for their company with
Yeah.
a .com domain.
Yeah.
And we need to have that level of engagement and have that sort of empathy for working with the sales leaders. It's also important for them to think more big picture. What is the ISV's top 3 goals for the year? How are we going to drive this joint plan to accelerate that? Because we don't want marketplace to be a transaction vehicle anymore. We want it to be a strategic differentiator. So the partnership is super critical for us to think about it from that lens. And they should be thinking about Google Cloud as a true revenue stream to help our partners accelerate deals and to grow the deal size and source opportunities for them.
How do you think about putting the right incentives in place for partners and then also measurement? How are you measuring your ISV partners and obviously revenue, but what are some other, maybe there's some other dimensions that you are tracking as well?
Yeah, 100%. I would say incentives are absolutely critical, right? We want to drive the desired outcomes, the desired behaviors.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Inside Partnering. I'm Chip Rodgers, and I am so excited today to be joined by Shobana Shankar. Shobana, welcome.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here. And I have to say, I've been a big fan of how you're exploring the world of partnerships, like all things partnerships. So excited to be here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we were just chatting. I feel like I learn so much from everybody all the time, and I just love having these conversations and sharing it with everybody. It's just really great to have you on, Shobana.
Thank you.
So just by way of introduction, Shobana is head of ISV Sales at Google, and really excited to have you on. Google's been just tearing it up with ISVs, and you just had actually, we ran into each other a couple weeks ago at the Google Quick Start Partner Quick Start
Start. Yeah.
Kickstart, yeah, in Sunnyvale. But then I know you had them in Chicago and New York and a bunch of cities all on the same day, which was an interesting logistical challenge, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, kudos to Marian James who pulled it off, and she's fantastic at it. And I think we did that in 4 cities in parallel, like you said, and it was such a great success. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, but how we have thought about enabling our partners right after our sales kickoff, right? It's a testament to how we think about partnership this year.
That's terrific. That's terrific. Shobana, you've been in the technology space and working with partners for many years, 10 years at Cisco, and then AppDirect for a couple of years, and now with Google for 8 years. And so you've really grown up in this technology space and working with partners. Why don't we start there with Google and tell us a little bit about what you and your team are up to?
Yeah, perfect. As you mentioned, Chip, I lead the ISV sales organization here for data analytics at Google Cloud, and which is a role I absolutely love because it puts me right at the intersection of 3 most exciting trends in the technology today: the power of cloud, the incredible momentum of AI, and the absolute necessity of building a world-class partner ecosystem, because that they're the ones who bring all of this to life for our customers. So it's fascinating time, and I'm thrilled to dive into it with you today.
Yeah, that is a great place to be. That's for sure. You can't have a conversation today without talking about AI, right?
Absolutely. And we'll go into it as we have this conversation, but it's changed how we operate today. And one thing is about how our partners are enabling it for our customers, but it's also how internally at Google, like drinking our own Kool-Aid and the dog food program we have, it's just incredibly exciting.
Yeah. That's great. So why don't we start? Let's start at the beginning and just talk a little bit about how you and Google think about building successful programs for partners, and how do you help make partners successful?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And I would say it's a topic that I'm really passionate about. As you mentioned, I actually come from Cisco. And so I have deep appreciation for what a world-class, mature partner ecosystem looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started at Google Cloud about 8 years ago, I remember talking to sales teams and We're like, partners who? And it was so early at that time for cloud to be thinking about partners. And we've come a long way. And to fast forward to today, and partners are absolutely ingrained in every single account plan
Mm,
and the business plan that our direct sellers have. And so it's just been the transformation has been really where the partner programs come in, because the program enables us to take it from a desire to partner, and it makes it more systematic and programmatic, and obviously thinking about the right incentive structures. And the other piece that is really important for us is enablement, ensuring it's also timely enablement, especially at the pace things are moving today, right? And so a lot of hard work from our teams and our partner programs team to make it all possible. But I would say from that foundation, our philosophy is that successful program isn't just about a contract. And especially with the ISV world, I would say it's the beginning of a journey. And we have really thought through the partner program in terms of how do we build the different levels or tiered approach, right?
hmm
Because we want to provide our partners the right motivation and incentives and also a clear roadmap and how to go on this journey with us. And the real goal is to become the connective tissue between partners and obviously the Google's massive go to market engine that we have. And so we're always with ISVs chasing that better together story. What is that
hmm
one plus one equal three? And so our joint offering, the co build motion, is equally important, and the co marketing piece as well, and co sell, which is where my team really plays a big role. But I would say it's really fascinating when the complete solution that we bring, the Google plus the ISV, is solving the customer's business problem that either of us can't solve alone,
mm,
right?
right.
And I feel like that's our North Star, is to be able to help our customers achieve their outcome with that better together story.
I love that. And it's interesting, especially with ISVs. I think there's a lot of that co-build piece of anything, right? Anytime you're going to work with an ISV, it's got to work together. And there's, you get the product and engineering teams involved to really build that joint solution and make sure that it is optimized and all those things. What does that process look like? I know that's not central to your role, but I know that you're the beneficiary, right, of all of that process.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it is, we've got every ISV that we work with, they have again these three pillars that we think about, right? There has to be the co-build, there has to be the co-marketing, and there has to be a co-sell. So
hmm
we work together on a joint business plan in each of these pillars, what good looks like
mm
given a specific ISV. And I would say it depends with what their strengths are and where we can complement each other. And I would say Harness is a great example. It's a DevOps ISV in our book of business. And they, I think, do a really phenomenal job of bringing this 360-degree partnership. And they really embrace our AI solution into how they think about their product. They also use Looker internally, which is part of
mm,
Google Cloud, to power their own
right.
internal business intelligence. And so when partners trust your technology to run their own business, I feel like it's an ultimate sign of the 360 partnership. But I feel like that's the level of partnership that we strive for. And with Harness, we have specific product integration meetings with the right folks from our product team and
Mm,
the technical experts from Harness, for example, in how
hmm
to bring that to life. And obviously, as you mentioned, my team takes full advantage of that, but that is core to it. That is definitely core to the partnership.
Yeah. And you're also tapped, you and your team are tapped into the customer requirements, right? What's coming in, like what's working, what's not working. And so you can be that sort of a conduit to feed that back into the product teams.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the one thing that we have done really well in our AI space is making sure that feedback loop is complete, right?
Mm,
And this is required of all of our AI specialists that are out there talking to customers, there's a formal process and a well thought out plan of how do we take the feedback on a real time basis and feed that back to the product team. And we leverage that same template with our ISVs as well.
interesting. How does Google think about bringing new partners, new ISV partners in and growing the ecosystem? Because I think to your earlier point, as you have more solutions that are part of your sort of capabilities, right? They become then capabilities. You want as many as possible for your customers. So how does that happen? You're sort of recruiting and bringing in new ISVs into Google.
It's tempting in our world to chase every new shiny object. I say this year our approach is very thoughtful. It's quality over quantity. Our core focus is going deeper with more select group of partners where we can have a material impact. Now, that being said, we have to be incredibly agile, right? Especially right now, the pace of innovation in AI is breathtaking, and we're
Hmm.
constantly on the lookout for the fast-growing ISV that have the potential to be the next unicorns and to serve that better together story for our customers. And so our strategy is to be structured enough to support our established partners, but also nimble enough to see the rising star and quickly build a partnership that allows us to capitalize on their momentum. So it's a bit of a balancing act. It's essential for staying relevant.
Yeah. And Google has always had a really strong startup program as well, really
Yep.
identifying early startups and helping nurture them within the GCP ecosystem.
Yes, absolutely. And Darren Mowry leads that organization for us, and we've seen incredible growth. We've had several programs, the Springboard program, for example, a 12-week fast start bootcamp style program, and there's just more to come there too, right? And there's just
Mhm.
a lot of focus, and you're going to see us double down even further in the startup space.
So let's talk about AI, and let's think about it from those two lenses. One is the how you're using it internally and how it's affecting your team and the whole go-to-market for Google, and then also how partners are embracing AI.
Yeah, I get goosebumps just thinking about this and some of the examples. But I would say my passion for what Google does with AI goes back to my very first week here 8 years ago. I was in the Noogler, which is our new employee program that's ramped up. And I vividly remember them showing us several videos of how Google's AI is helping solve for real world problems. And I'm talking 8 years ago, right? And there was this one specific video I remember that I cannot forget, which is how Google's AI was helping the retinal detection for early diagnosis of blindness caused by diabetes.
Huh.
And just when that it's a goosebumps moment when you're day one at Google and you're seeing these videos and how Google was leveraging AI back then. It's incredible. So it wasn't about the ads space that Google was excelling in. It was about those real world problems that Google was solving for. And I remember leaving thinking, this is the company that I want to be working for.
Yeah.
And what was so powerful even back then is just the emphasis on doing it right. It's the responsible AI and the ethical AI. And I think that's been ingrained in just how we think about AI. And to see the journey from then to now, it's fascinating because the narrative when I joined Google Cloud, specifically in cloud, was about us being third in the market.
Right.
Are we going to catch up?
Mhm.
And I remember a few months ago, there was an article described in the market of, I think the title was Catch Up to Catch Us mode regarding our AI strategy. That's like dream come true.
Yeah.
Seeing that shift, I think it's phenomenal. And as I mentioned to you, it feels like 8 years at Google, but I feel like it's just getting started. It feels like we're writing a pivotal new chapter in the book of cloud. And I would say really leveraging the momentum from the agentic AI era we're in. And I would say the momentum is phenomenal to our customers, to our partners. And I tell my team, our time's now. We're all hands on deck to capitalize on this opportunity.
Hmm.
And I would say it's that once in a lifetime career opportunity you get to be a part of this transformation. And I would say this energy isn't just a top down strategy, it's that grassroots movement that we talked about. What we did with my team is we launched this AI mindset initiative. So we challenged ourselves to think like builders. And everybody had a chance to spend a couple of weeks thinking about what is that agent that they would want to build to make their day to day better or make their partners day to day better or how we can
Hmm.
help our customers better. And so I think it was phenomenal to see just everybody's ideas come together. And some of them have actually taken actions to go build something. So it's ingrained in our day to day. And I personally myself have had a chance to build a few agents and a few gems. And there's this anti-gravity, Google Cloud's anti-gravity tool that we've got. It's like the agent first developer platform that I've had a chance to use. And I'm not claiming to be a full-time developer, but I think it helps someone like me do vibe coding and build agents without limitations. So it's a pretty phenomenal tool. And internally, we call it jet ski. But I've built my own sales dashboard that can help me run my business,
Huh.
something that I use every hour. And I've seen my peers build tools that can completely automate how they do forecasting and how they do forecast slides.
Mm.
And our marketing team launched a gem yesterday that acts as the internal knowledge base. So our specialists don't have to go search for things. They just ask the gem. And they get up to speed on any new initiatives instantly or what's happening with this partner. It lays out the plan, and if you want to know a little bit about an event that's coming up or double click on the calendar that the marketing team has put together. It's just phenomenal that the gem is there. You can ask the questions and you've got it right there and then. So I would say it has forced all of us to become learners again. And I would say this is the most important thing. To
Mm.
thrive in this new world, you have to be bilingual.
Mm.
You need to know, you need to be really good at your core domain expertise. Don't get me wrong, that's super important, but you
Hmm.
have to be, you must, you have to be fluent in the language of AI to the best of your ability within your role, right?
I love that. That's one worth saving. It's forced us all to be learners again.
It has, and
Love
I
that.
would say it's a continuous journey of learning, and you want to do that to keep up with the pace. It's incredibly exciting too, because as you learn, I'm uncovering things that I want to do more next, or I can make things better in terms of my day to day. And so I think it's incredibly exciting.
You're also right that unless you experience it, unless you dive in and use it, the light bulb just it goes up. When you do, it goes up. It's, oh my God.
100%.
You
And
know?
I talk about this a lot with my 6-year-old twin girls. Like there's something called the power of doing it once. Because once you do it once and you feel like you got through, the next time you do it, oh, I've done it before. And the same thing goes for this is you got to test it out with a gem or a very simple agent, right? We've got agent builders, like you don't have to go to the anti-gravity as a first step, but you've got to experiment and play with it. And there's more you will discover.
So that's terrific, Shobana. Thank you for sharing all of the things that are happening internally. Talk a little bit about some of the AI, some of the partners and how they're building AI solutions for customers and what's that all, because as you said, the rate of change and the number of things that are happening constantly is just crazy.
It is. It is. And it's similar to how we think about co-selling with partners in general, right? And AI space is interesting. And so is all of data analytics because it's a unique partnership with most of our ISVs because we've got our first party products and our
Mhm.
ISVs build incredible solutions. Sometimes we compete and sometimes we complement. But regardless, I think gone are the days for us to think about one solution from one company can solve all of customers.
Right.
It's about partnership. It's about partnerships today. That's the present. It will be the future. And I think really understanding and striving for that 360-degree partnership is important. It comes with building trust, right? And it takes time, but I think it's laying out that foundation, that business plan, the joint business plan that we want to go after together on the co-build, co-marketing, co-sell piece that I talked about is critically important. And so we can set expectations on both sides on what to expect from this partnership and being very real on what that 1 + 1 = 3, where that makes sense and where that might not. We've got clear rules of engagement internally to execute on the coastal motion, despite we call it the co-opetition, right? So we've got rules of engagement on how to think through co-opetition. But I would say AI partners like Levin Labs is coming today to meet us for lunch and a whole afternoon of meetings. Incredibly excited about that partnership, right?
Hmm.
There's again
Yeah.
overlap there, but we're going to figure out what our swim lanes are, where we're going to be good at, where their strengths are at, which industry do they want to focus on, and start there, get some of the small wins, amplify that, and go from there, right? And but it's just incredible in terms of the number of ISV partners wanting to be in this journey with us and truly make it a 360 partnership.
Yeah. That's terrific. Such an exciting time. Shobana, talk a little bit about, so you have a team of ISV specialists that are and working with partners on a daily basis. How do you, let's talk a little bit about team building and how do you recruit the right folks into the team, make sure everybody's motivated. Talk a little bit about that
Yeah,
process as a leader.
absolutely. I think you've hit on what I believe is the most important part of my job or any leader's job here at
Mm.
Google.
Hmm.
And when my team was first formed, we were hiring folks with more of an alliance background, like partnership background. And I feel like our strategy has matured pretty quickly. And we are now a core part of our sales organization. We roll into Michael Clark, who's the Northam sales leader for Google Cloud. And our hiring has evolved significantly.
Hmm.
We hire for folks with direct sales acumen
Hmm.
and individuals who have that hunter mentality. And this is something I'm really passionate about. My former leader, Scott Barneson, I don't know if you've had a chance to meet him.
Yeah, I know Scott well. Yeah,
Scott, well, he used
he's
to call me, sorry, say that again.
no, he's terrific. Yeah,
Phenomenal,
yeah.
absolutely, fantastic leader. And he
I've
used
been
to
trying
call
to get him on the podcast.
me good. Good. I'm gonna drop him a ping
Yeah,
after.
help him get him on the podcast.
Work on that. But
Uh,
he used to call me like a talent magnet, and I used to take that as a compliment because I really cherish that, and I truly enjoy building that high performing teams from the ground
mhm,
up. And I think it comes from the culture we've built. And I would say we are a performance based culture. It's no surprise. Google's always been a performance based culture, but in Google Cloud, it's very critical at this moment for us to be really thinking about that. But it's also one where everyone is trying to constantly help each other succeed, right? We have a saying on the team: the how is equally important as the what. And it's great. You can hit your number, but how you did it, how did you collaborate? How did
mhm.
you support your teammates? How did you represent our partners? How did you show up in front of our customers? All of that how matters just as much. And I think, we're not done. We're going to continue to be relentless in hiring the top talent to drive this mission forward. But I would say it's really thinking about how do you bring your direct sales experience into the world of partnership.
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. We've got this year, one of the things that we're really focused on is building these go to market plans. And these go to market plans, I mean, we've always had a go to market plan, we've always had a joint business plan, but we've thought through what needs to be in this template pretty rigorously. And we want this to be a fully aligned plan with our ISV's CRO, especially in the coastal piece. We want to be their true extension, right? The CRO of the ISV should tap into the specialist on my team as someone who works for their company with
Yeah,
a .com domain.
yeah.
And we need to have that level of engagement and have that sort of empathy for working with the sales leaders. And it's hard to teach that unless you've carried a bag. And I would say it's also important for them to think more big picture. What is the ISV's top three goals for the year? How are we going to drive this joint plan to accelerate that? Because we don't want marketplace to be a transaction vehicle anymore. We want it to be a strategic differentiator. So the partnership is super critical for us to think about it from that lens. And they should be thinking about Google Cloud as a true revenue stream to help our partners accelerate deals and to grow the deal size and source opportunities for them. A few years ago, we didn't have to think about it. Now it's part of the joint plan is how are we bringing new deals for our ISVs? So my team's compensation has a component where they have a target to source opportunity for our ISVs. And that's going to continue to grow. And that's where our ISVs see most value from us, in addition to accelerating the deals and growing their deal size.
That's so important and such a critical point, Shobana. I love that. If you're leading sales for an ISV, you can't just be thinking about direct, like you have to have like partners. Google has to be totally embedded, everything. And marketplace, you also talk about the taking advantage of drawdowns and just the ease of transactions and all of that. Like that is going to help as a sales leader. That's going to help you so much.
100%. I couldn't agree more. So that hunter mentality is really important. It's funny, there's this phrase internally we say, wake up running. But in the ISV world where we compete a lot with the first party, it's more wake up, get punched, and then run. And you need to have that. You need to have that sort of carried a bag, have had to deal with some of these things, and understand what our ISVs, CROs must be thinking about, and being able to relate to that and truly add value.
Yeah, terrific. How do you think about putting the right incentives in place for partners and then also measurement? How are you measuring your ISV partners and obviously revenue, but what are some other, maybe there's some other dimensions that you are tracking as well?
Yeah, 100%. I would say incentives are absolutely critical, right? We want to drive the desired outcomes, the desired behaviors. They're primary catalysts for ensuring we are aligning our partners' efforts with our strategic goals. But I feel like it's also a sophisticated science because we have to lead with value. We have to lead with the value of that 1 + 1 = 3, the value of partnership, but the right incentives are what brings it to life day to day. I would say an effective program is beyond just rewarding the final sale. And you've seen our partner program evolve, but we really think about encouraging like the proactive behavior across the entire life cycle. So we'll reward actions like specializations, which is very important for us, right? Our partners, we want them to have the right technical training, specialization, super critical. We also
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure we've built joint customer demos, right? That's critically important. So we reward certain specific behaviors like that. And I feel like this truly builds that loyalty and engagement. And we're in it with them, right? We're in it with them to help coach and help be there for every step of the way. But I feel like it's very important for us to gain mind share. And so we do leverage the financial rewards, but equally important, the non financial incentives like access to marketing support or dedicated engineering resources, recognition, and so on and so forth. So I would say it's more, it's not just throwing money at a problem, but thinking about how do we surgically apply the resources we have to truly create that win.
Mm.
And I would say from a measurement and goals perspective, you're right. We've got like our team, my team has got a marketplace revenue number we've got to hit. That's a priority. But I would say the Google sourced is a term that you're going to hear a lot, but that's a huge part of our compensation plan this year. It shows to say that we truly want to be able to bring value to our ISV partners, and we're seeing incredible momentum on that front. I feel like that those are good lagging indicators when we talk about revenue, but we
Mm-hmm.
have to be thinking about the leading indicators. What are some
Yeah.
of the things we want to do up front to build that pipeline to ensure we've got the high quality pipeline, but the right amount in there for us to drive the velocity and the growth we're expected to accomplish, right? The other piece is we look at some ISPs specifically are concerned about churn given everything that's happening out there with the budget. And
Mm-hmm.
they've seen less churn when they're part of Google Cloud's budget through Marketplace. And so we look at their retention rate for them. I think it's about, we've got a scorecard that we review on a very regular basis that's got
Mm-hmm.
a ton of lagging indicators that are extremely important for us. But it also includes some of the leading indicators about the right amount of account mapping to the right amount of account engagements to the pipeline generation, marketing activities, how many win wires, how many blog posts, and so on and so forth. And obviously, we've got our next coming, Google Cloud Next.
Yeah.
It feels like it's right around the corner. And it's our biggest revenue generating event. And I feel like thinking about speaking slots for our ISVs and how we show up in that event along with our partners is equally important as well. So it's a big scorecard, and we've got a ton of leading indicators and revenue indicators in there. But I think it's important for us to keep aligned with in terms of what's expected from the ISV, what are we expecting, and tracking that along the way and keeping each other accountable, right? I think a lot of times when I run into my ISV, they're like, oh, your team's doing a great job. Tell me more. What's working? What can we do better? We're always looking for that feedback in terms of how should we measure ourselves, and let's set the bar high, and let's truly strive for building that world-class partner ecosystem for our customers.
Yeah. Terrific. You just threw out, I think, 10 or 15 measurements that just in chatting about it, all really important. And I'm curious, just the quick double click on one. You talked about pipeline. I think that's so important to as a leading indicator on the health of a partnership. Is there can you share a little bit more about what are you like? I think the common number is like 3x, 4x target. Is it somewhere in there, or how do you think about pipeline?
Yeah, we definitely think about having the 3x pipeline at a
Mm-hmm.
minimum for our ISVs. And
Mm-hmm.
we are thoughtful in terms of how the expectations around growth, depending on which pillar the ISV sits in. And but being mindful of that and seeing where the revenue is going to take us for the rest of the year, we know what we need to accomplish to get to our number or exceed our number.
Yeah.
And striving for 3x pipeline is absolute standard, but it's also the quality of it is extremely important too. So we hold our teams accountable for the pipeline quality. And I think it's going to be a combination of working with the ISV partners on some of the accounts they're trying to tap into, and us working together on that better together story, figuring out the right industry, that right niche that we want to start with, and also sourcing opportunities. It has to be a combination, right? Both partner sourced and Google sourced
Mm.
in our system.
So you're tracking both. That's
Yes, 100%.
great. Yeah. Shobana, this has been fantastic. We could just keep going all afternoon.
No, listen, Chip, thank you so much for the wonderful conversation. It's been a real pleasure. I would say if there's one thing to take away, it is that we are in the era where of deep, authentic partnerships. It's not just a strategy anymore. It is a fundamental necessity for success. So between the incredible pace of AI innovation and making amazing creativity happening within our partner ecosystem, I feel like there's truly never been a more exciting time to be building future together. So the opportunity in front of us, in front of all of us, is immense. And I really believe we're all just getting started. So thank you so much for having
Mhm.
me.
Absolutely. And thank you, Shobana, for taking the time and sharing your insights and all the good things that are happening exciting things that are happening at Google.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chip.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shobana. And thank you all for joining as well. And we will see you next time. Make sure to like and share and subscribe. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Shobana.
Thank you.